Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today, we need to take a little bit of a look at Salamence VMAX. I was not expecting Salamence to get a VMAX. This one has kind of taken me by surprise. And the thing is, Salamence V was already a card that I was extremely excited about. Now you're telling me it's getting a VMAX? I don't even really need it to be all that good. I'm hyped enough about Salamence, but the good news is, I think it is really good, and we should be excited. I should also mention that our translation comes from the lovely Antoine Boulet. Stop me if you've heard that one before. So starting off then, we got 320 HP, which is pretty standard for a Pokemon VMAX. It's in line with stuff like Dragapult. It's what we expect. Not too high, not too low. The retreat cost of 2 means free retreat with Air Balloon, which is quite nice if you need to get him out of the active. And the resistance to fighting is really good, because stuff like Pikachu and Zekrom and Eternatus VMAX look like they're going to be really good moving forward. Not to mention stuff like Crobat V and Dedenne, which means more people are going to want to play fighting, which means you're resisting them in their silly fighting face. But the weakness to lightning isn't particularly good. As it stands at the moment, Pikachu and Zekrom is the best deck in the format. Now this may very well change with Darkness Ablaze and Eternatus VMAX, but as it stands at the moment, lightning is great. The one saving grace here is that Pikachu and Zekrom with full blitz doesn't get a one-hit KO, they're 20 damage short. And about when this comes out, Electro Power is going to be, well, it's going to be rotating out. And that's going to be a little bit sad. They will still have Vitality Band, but then the question really is going to be, is anyone actually playing Vitality Band in Pikarom decks? It's going to be interesting to see how good Pikarom is post-rotation without Thunder Mountain and without Electro Power. But if Pikachu and Zekrom play Vitality Band, you are in a bit of trouble here. Being a colourless Pokemon is not particularly great, and we don't particularly care. Not hitting anything for weakness, boot, hiss, etc. However, we do like the attacks. First attack, 1 colourless energy. This attack does 40 damage to 2 of your opponent's Pokemon. And the lovely Antoine Boulet has not specified bench Pokemon here, so I think it's fair to say that it's probably active as well. And this is nice. Although at this stage, I really need to remind you about why it is that I love Salamence V quite so much. You see, Salamence V for free colourless energy does 30 damage to each of your opponent's Pokemon. And Welder is a thing. So what you do is your opponent goes first, they have a turn, they do what they like, except for player supporter or attack, because turn 1, going first. And then you have a Salamence. You Welder onto Salamence, there's 2 energy. You attach a 3rd energy from your hand, and all of a sudden Salamence is doing 30 damage to each of your opponent's Pokemon. And you are putting them on a ridiculous clock. You are saying to your opponent, look, I'm doing 30 damage to all of your Pokemon, and I'm going to keep doing 30 damage to all of your Pokemon every turn until you take Salamence down. How much damage am I really going to do before you take Salamence down? The problem is we have far too many 70 HP Pokemon around at the moment. Jirachi is very much the classic example, but just silly things like Galarian Zigzagoon comes in with 70 HP. And maybe your opponent is using it to drop damage and then using Scoop Up Net to reuse it. Maybe your opponent is instead trying to evolve it into Galarian Obstagoon to block basic Pokemon damage. Well, either way, Galarian Zigzagoon is running around and seeing a lot of play, but it's got 70 HP, and there's like a billion more we could use. I think they work for now. The difference here is you get to KO them. So turn 1, you use Salamence to spread 30 damage, and then your opponent has 2 Jirachi / Zigzagoon / whatever on the bench. If you attack with Salamence V again, you're not KOing them. Maybe Galarian Zigzagoon evolves, and then you're no longer getting a KO. Maybe your opponent uses Scoop Up Net on Jirachi, so you're now no longer able to get a KO, at least straight away. There's a million different things your opponent can do in order to stop you getting a KO. So what you do is you VMAX, and then you drop 40 damage onto those Pokemon, and oh look, would you believe it? Now they are going down, now they are getting KO'd in their silly faces. And actually, Zigzagoon's a fun little example, because we could say the same thing with Lanoon, because Lanoon's got 100 HP, so if you attack twice with Salamence, Lanoon will have 40 HP remaining, so another Salamence attack won't KO, but a Salamence VMAX attack absolutely will. This makes a gigantic difference. I love Salamence for the spreading, and I was on record, right, the Salamence is a really good Pokemon back when I didn't even know it had a VMAX. But I do sincerely believe the VMAX makes it a lot better. I don't think the VMAX is necessary, but I do think in some matchups it is going to be so much easier to get KOs with the VMAX than it was to get KOs with the V. And then there is a second attack, and the second attack on Salamence also just covers exactly what we needed it to do. 4 energy, 240, this Pokemon cannot use this attack during your next turn, though they can still use the first attack, so it's not the end of the world. Here's the thing. This is exactly what Salamence needed. Salamence needed a big attack. When you're looking at a spreading Pokemon, generally what you really want is spread damage, spread damage, spread damage, spread damage. Ah, no, they brought up a big Pokemon, smash! And now you can. 4 energy, 240, that's Pikachu and Zekrom. That is a one-hit KO on a Pikachu and Zekrom. That's redonk, ladies and gentlemen. That is absolutely ludicrously over-the-top, brilliantly, amazingly great. And look, I know there's a lot of lazy takes out there which are just going, it's weak to Pikachu and Zekrom, it's unplayable. Well, firstly, Pikachu and Zekrom does not seem like it's going to have a great Eternatus matchup, although let's be super clear, the set got revealed today, it's out in a week, we really cannot be talking matchups too heavily now, but there is at least a question as to how well it's going to match up against Eternatus. And you're using Colorless Energy, so you can use Weak Guard Energy. And not every deck you're going to face is going to be Pikachu and Zekrom. This is a colorless Pokemon that can slot into any deck whatsoever. If you're against a Pikachu and Zekrom deck, use your other attackers. I've said I love the idea of using this with Welder, presumably in some kind of Firebox deck. So I'm going to have a bunch of Fire Pokemon that I can use with Welder. So if Pikachu and Zekrom is that annoying, use one of your Fire Pokemon. I said the weakness ain't good, and I stand by that. The weakness ain't good. And I'm not pretending for a second it is. But I'm also saying that I don't think we can just go, oh, weak to Pikachu and Zekrom, unplayable. Because I really don't think that's the case. I think it's a really good Pokemon. And I've just given you like 3 different things you can do against Pikachu and Zekrom. Not to mention, if you get going faster, you can take them out. Bearing in mind, turn 1, energy on Salamence. Turn 2, Welder, energy, VMAX. Boom, now you can KO a Pikachu and Zekrom. So do. KO a Pikachu and Zekrom. And again, when rotation hits, they're losing Thunder Mountain and Electro Power. I still think they're going to be good post-rotation, but they're not going to be as good. And maybe they do kind of disappear. I don't think they will, but they might, you never know. Not to mention, they can only Gus you up using Boss's Orders, but you've got Great Catcher you can use, or Boss's Orders. I do not think that just going, oh, Pikachu and Zekrom weakness, I don't think that's good enough. I don't think that's terribly valid. Now, moving on more towards Salamence itself, 240 will get all Pokemon Vs, even up to things like Zamazenta. If you can turn the ability off, Zamazenta might be a slight problem, I'll be honest with you. But any other Pokemon V, you'll be getting a one-hit KO. You'll be getting weaker tag teams like Pikachu and Zekrom. You won't be getting VMAXs, and you'll be getting any single prize Pokemon. Here's the thing, though. You're spreading damage. You're going to be spreading a bunch of damage around. So this isn't really 240. This is 240 after a couple of turns of spreading around. Most of the time, this should be nearer 300. Now, you're still short of something like Eternatus VMAX, but there's plenty of things you can do, like the aforementioned Vitality Band, Zigzagoon, etc. So I like this. I really like this. I was super high on Salamence. It was, on a personal level, it was the most exciting card that we'd previously seen from this set. Now we bring in the VMAX, and it now allows you to get that turn 2 KO on all those 70 HP Pokemon that were going to be a problem, while giving you a significantly bigger attack. I absolutely adore this. I'm giving it 4 Wassies. And I know some people are going to think that's too high. Honestly, in my heart, I think that's too low. But we'll give it 4 Wassies for now and see where we go. I think early game spread with Salamence can be absolutely brutal, and I think there are going to be so many games won by players just because they get a turn 1 Salamence and their opponent doesn't get rolling fast enough. And what this basically does is it does everything the V needed it to. Extra 100 HP, 40 to 2 Pokemon for a single energy, which as I've shown you hits the numbers. Much bigger 4 energy attack. I'm in love, ladies and gentlemen. I'm in love. But I'd like to know how you feel. So let me know in the comment section, would you? Go nuts, be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCG Radio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can do exactly that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassyPlays, where you can find out about a whole bunch of games that don't have Pokemon in, but are pretty gosh darned awesome nonetheless. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.